Tonight's telecast is brought to you by Columbia 300. Neighborhood True Value Hardware Store. By McDonald's. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. And previewing tonight's top 5 finalists here at the Showboat Hotel and Casino Bowling Center. In the number 5 slot is Ricky Sajek and also Max Carlson. Those two guys are very straight, but they hit the pocket. They'll match up against a couple of veteran strokers in George Pappas and Gary Dickinson. The winner of that match will then advance to tough Ernie Schlegel and left-hander Hugh Miller. Bowling out of the number 2 slot, a pair of fine left-handers, Joe Salvey and John Gant. And then, of course, the top seeds, defending champions Mike Aulby and also Steve Cook. Good evening, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner. Welcome back to the Showboat Bowling Center, where for the 6th consecutive year, the Showboat Bowling Center will be hosting the $130,000 Showboat PBA Doubles Classic. 10 outstanding players will comprise the top 5 teams, and the pros will be shooting for $25,000 in first-place prize money. Now, one guy who is very familiar with the Doubles Classic here at the Showboat is my partner, Mike Durbin, who teamed up with Gil Slanker back in 1983 to capture the Showboat Doubles Classic from the number 1 position, and tonight's field a contrast in styles.
It certainly is, Danny. It seems that the lane condition this week at the Showboat lanes has favored the player who threw the ball straight and favored the player who threw it from the left side. We had a number of straight shooters in the top 24 teams, and we've got 5 of them on our telecast this evening. We also had 13 left-handers in the top 24, and we've got 5 of them on the telecast tonight. So we could have straight shooter win, we could have a lefty team win, or we could have a mixed team win. But right now, let's take a closer look at our 5 top teams, and we'll start with a team that's in the number 1 position, the defending champions Mike Aulby and Steve Cook. Mike Aulby, the reigning bowler of the year, last year won 6 titles and won a record $201,000. He's cool when he needs to be, and his partner is his brother-in-law, Steve Cook, who's won twice already this year, including the prestigious U.S. Open that he won in Venice, Florida. Look out for those 2 guys tonight.
Bowling out of the number 2 position, 2 outstanding left-handers. One guy is a stroker, the other guy is a power player.
Salvey is the stroker, and John Gant is the power player. Salvey will be bowling with Gant, and he's had a bit of a rough time so far this year, Denny. He's only made $5,000, but when he gets it going, he can throw a lot of strikes, and he's hoping to break that slump tonight and get back into the win column. He's won twice before, so he's done it before. He can do it again. Gant was a Rookie of the Year just a few years ago on the PBA. They've nicknamed him the Buzzsaw, and the reason they call him the Buzzsaw is because he throws that powerful ball. When it comes in from that outside angle, it just chews those pins apart. So look out for these 2 guys. If they find their shot and start throwing strikes, they can shoot some high scores.
The team that will start out of the number 3 position, Ernie Schlegel and Hugh Miller, they've got all the bases covered. They've got a right-hander and a left-hander.
They're our true mixed doubles team tonight. Hugh Miller, who recently had been undefeated on national television. He was 6-0 until this year when he bowled Walter Ray Williams. He shot .234 Walter Ray, but he got beat nevertheless. But he's still tough on television, as his record is shown. He's won 3 times. Ernie Schlegel is a veteran of the tour. He's been out here a long time. He's usually very colorful. Today he's kind of dressed conservatively for Ernie, but he has 4 PBA titles already. He says his goal is to get 10 titles. He's got a ways to go to achieve that goal.
The PBA veterans will be well represented here this evening by the number 4 team, a pair of fine shot makers, George Pappas and Gary Dickinson.
2 players that have bowled together forever, it seems like, in this doubles competition. It seems like they make money every year. Dickinson is over 40, as I am, and he's a stroker, as I am also. He's very smooth going to the line, very tough in the clutch. He's shot a 300 game already this week. His partner, George Pappas, is what has been known on the PBA Tour as one of the finest shot makers out here. George had to quit the tour for a while last year as he had wrist problems. He's had an operation and a tendon transplant or something of that nature. In any case, he says his wrist feels great and he's ready to win again.
And the team that will start in the number 5 slot this evening, a team of very consistent performers, a couple of guys that are going to hit the pocket most of the night.
It's Ricky Sajek and Max Carlson. Sajek, who a couple of years ago in 1984, won 2 tournaments in 5 weeks, and he was the scourge of the tour. But since that time, he's fallen on a little rougher times, and he's only made, I think, a little over $12,000 so far this year. So he wants to break that slump, get back into the winners column. His partner, Mads Carlson, is from Sweden. He's a non-winner on the tour, but he bowled extremely well in Europe. He beat me once in the Grand Prix, so he can, if he can beat me, I guess he can beat these guys.
Well, the odds are always good in Las Vegas, and considering the fact you missed last week on Les Sykes, who will win this evening?
Well, I'm going to try and reduce those odds, Denny, and make sure that I get myself into the championship match, and I'm going to go with the defending champions, Mike Aulby and Steve Cook, to win their second consecutive doubles crown.
That sounds like a pretty good bet to me. Coming up, match number 1 here in the Showboat PBA Doubles Classic, featuring Sajek Karlsson against Papis and Dickinson.
Winners know what it takes to win. In this game, it takes more control, more power, more precision, more curve. One ball has it all. One ball dominates winning on the Pro Tour. The Black U-Dot from Columbia 300. The Black U-Dot, the ball of champions. Columbia 300, sold only in lanes or pro shops.
True Value Hardware, it's more than a name.
The Imperial Folding Handyman performs hundreds of useful functions with 9 carbon steel tools, and it fits right in your pocket. During June, it's just $4.99 while supplies last. Look for the True Value of the Month banner at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
And tell them Pat Summerall sent you.
McDonald's McDLT. No taste sounds quite like it.
No taste sings so hot to me. There's no cooler melody. So hot, so cool, so fresh to me. No taste sounds like McDLT. It's a good time for the great taste. No taste sounds like McDLT. McDonald's.
From the beginning, food and ice have fought for space in your ice chest. And from the beginning, food has lost. That's why Gant decided to put ice in its place, in the lid, with our patented refreeze bottle. Just fill it, freeze it, then lock it in. It does the job without fighting your food for space. The refreeze ice chest, a technical knockout, only from Gant.
Just about ready for the traditional handshake. George Pappas and Gary Dickinson exchanging a couple of fives there. And Mats Karlsson, of course, Gary Dickinson shaking hands. And Dickinson will start on the left-hand lane, and he'll open up match number 1.
And I think we should explain to our viewers that the way this is going to work, it's a Scotch doubles type of thing. Dickinson will bowl only on lane 59, where Pappas will bowl on lane 60. So that team has chosen to have Pappas finish in the 10th frame as Gary starts with a strike.
Last night in the position round game, Pappas and Dickinson are in 7th place. They shoot a big game, both of them, and vaulted from there into the number 4 slot, some pressure bowling.
They really came through when they had to, but they've been doing that for 20 years out here.
First shot for Mats Karlsson, trying to become the first foreign player to win a PBA championship.
It's a battle between him and Leto Monticelli. Monticelli's had the upper hand so far, but Mats has been bowling extremely well. Breaks it down, leaves only the 2-pin, a relatively simple spare to start the match out with.
Mats from Gothenburg, Sweden. And really, Mike and I, as we chatted before the telecast this evening, probably the best player in Europe.
He definitely was. As I mentioned before, he beat me in the Grand Prix over there as an amateur, and I got the first place money, but he wound up with the trophy.
Easy conversion on the spare. And Mike, why don't you explain to the fans why Karlsson maybe is throwing a different colored ball on the spare shots?
Well, he wants to keep the ball straight. The gray ball that he threw on the spare shot doesn't bite the lane as much as the black one he used on the first shot. And the players out here try and keep the ball straight at spares.
Ricky Sajek, 27 years of age, hailing out of Coral Springs, Florida. His opening shot in the doubles.
And that 6-pin leaned on that 10, but it didn't knock it over.
Boy, if you could figure out how to make that go, you could be rich out here on the tour, couldn't you, Mike?
Yeah, that 10-pin can separate a lot of dollars, that's for sure. He switched balls also, Denny, and moved to the extreme left to throw straight at the 10-pin.
As Mike mentioned, Sajek struggling a little bit this year, having won a little better than $12,000 on the winter tour. Won $38,000 last year, but his big year was the year before.
Oh, he was dynamite the year before. I was on one of those telecasts that he won in Cleveland, and he beat me. I shot 230-something at him, then he went on to beat Skidmore, who shot 240-something at him, and Sajek beat us both. Or a double. Boy, that was kind of a dead sound, wasn't it? It just seemed like the ball wasn't alive when it hit the pins.
Mike, what kind of an advantage? Will the scores be a little higher in the doubles because the players are bowling on only one lane because they don't have to make the adjustment of both pairs?
It definitely can be, Dan. I don't know whether they will or not. It seems like every prediction I make comes wrong, so I'm not going to predict, but they definitely can be because you don't have to get lined up on both lanes. You just have to get lined up on one as Pappas converts the 10-pin.
One thing is for sure, the action will flow because the players basically are up on the approach and ready to go the minute the guy finishes.
Right. See, normally George would be waiting for that ball to come back before he ever got up there, and Gary's up ready to throw already, so we should have the action move along quite quickly at a good pace tonight. That's a good thing because we have a number of slow players on the telecast tonight.
I knew you'd get that dig in somewhere. Now, Gary Dickinson is 2 for 2 on lane 59 here at the Showboat Bowling Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is warm outside, somewhere near 100 degrees.
Yes, we've had a few air conditioning problems already, haven't
But
we?
it's dry heat, Mike. Remember that.
Yeah, right. Carlson, very deliberate player. 5 steps. From the outside angle. Ooh. Oh, that's a double tap right light in the pocket and leaves the swishing, what we call pocket 710. Just a terrible break there. Usually what happens on that shot is that the 5-pin will go behind the 7-pin and the head pin goes in front of it. Although I think we had one of those last week and we showed them they both went in front of it. He's just going to throw hard at the 10-pin and hope something happens. Well, he bounced it over there.
I'll never forget in Oakland at Alameda. When Mark Roth picked up the 710 on national television.
Against Bill Straub. Yes,
That's right.
I remember that.
Oh, my goodness. They cheered for 10 minutes. Standing O. Don't see that happen often in a bowling center. Sajek on lane 59.
Same hit, but he carried it.
And he picks up his partner. They needed a strike there. We'll be back with more bowling in the opening match right after this message.
When I'm bringing home a pizza from Pizza Hut, I drive very carefully. I don't change lanes much. I avoid jackrabbit starts and stops. And I make turns extra carefully, too. I think instead of having traffic cops, everybody should drive around with a pizza in their car. Pull over. Let's see your toppings. You old enough to drive that pizza?
In my line of work, your insurance isn't on a piece of paper. It's up here, and it's in your equipment. With all the technology that's built into today's cars, I just don't trust mine to anything but AC filters. An AC oil filter can help protect your gasoline engine for up to 15,000 miles. An AC air filter, up to 30,000 miles. Never wait for trouble. Protect your car with AC filters.
Now get rebates on AC filters. Call 1-800-AC-DELCO for a participating dealer.
It'll work on your dandruff.
Yeah, but I'm afraid it won't leave my hair the way I like it.
Hey, this is great stuff.
Today's Head & Shoulders.
It's all I use.
Okay.
Tough dandruff protection that works only on your scalp, not your hair. Gentle conditioners go there.
Tough on dandruff, right?
But great on hair.
Today's Head & Shoulders. Dandruff care that's good for your hair.
What would you like?
Well, I don't know. What do I feel like?
Why not try something you've never had before?
Is that a line?
No, it's a drink. Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler. It's wet, it's dry, it's new, and it's Seagram's.
You sound like a commercial.
You buying it?
The drink? Yeah, but not the line.
It's a start.
New Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler. It's wet and it's dry.
The general, George Pappas, stepping up in the 4th frame and would just love to double right now. Dickinson and Pappas trying to take advantage of that swishing 7-10. They lead by 14.
You can increase it to 24. And in my comment, the reason he's known as the general is that George is a natural-born leader. He's been chairman of the tournament committee for a number of years, president of the organization. And he just seems to be the kind of guy that takes charge, so they nicknamed him the general.
He's also marched through a number of opponents. This hit just a little bit light and really fortunate to leave only the 5-pin.
Broke it all down. Simple spare, the 5-pin.
Mike, when you shoot the 5-pin, do you have a tendency to try and get lined up off of that pin on a strike ball?
In this situation, definitely what I would probably do is move a board to the right and see if the lane had tightened up on me and just try and make a reaction on the spare, which I think he did. He practiced at that spare shot. George, the classic style, 5 steps, pushes it away on the 2nd step, straight arm swing, arm out there, solid at the line. Look at him post that shot. If you want to teach your kid how to bowl, one of these two guys, Dickinson or Papis, would be excellent ones to model after. Ooh, the solid 10-pin. Gary, for the 3rd consecutive time, just flush in the 1-3 pocket on lane 59. And we're still looking for our first double in this match by either team.
Gary Dickinson, 17 years a member of the PBA, has 8 career PBA titles. His last victory, 1983, the U.S. Open. That's a big one to win.
It is. Gary hasn't won a lot in the 80s. I think that's his only win, I believe, in the 80s. And ooh, he measured it just right, didn't he? Gets a reaction from the crowd.
Well, that tall drink of water from Burleson, Texas, nearly ran out of lane.
Oh, no, the lane. We say that, you know, never a doubt.
Plenty of room, plenty of room.
Yeah.
You guys, the pros never get nervous out there. Heck, it's the amateurs. We're the ones that struggle. So right now, Sajek and Carlson trailing by 13. But they're on a strike as well.
Right here. Mats can cut it to 3 if he can double here. Interesting how he holds the ball there and adjusts his glasses and then gets himself reset. Trying for the double. Just seemed to fall off balance a little bit to the right. I don't know whether he's stuck or what, but the ball definitely was left immediately as soon as he let it go.
Mike, do you think there possibly could have been an over-adjustment after leaving the swishing 7-10 the last time up?
I think there could have been an over-mental adjustment. The tendency is that I want to stuff it in there this time. I don't have the confidence that that light hit will carry as he switches balls. And no problem.
I know, Mike, you had a chance to bowl the doubles on several occasions. You won this tournament back in 1983. Is it fun for the pros to get a chance to root for each other once in a while rather than beat each other's heads against the walls?
Yeah, it was interesting when I bowled it. You know, usually I'm pretty conservative and everything on television, but that particular tournament, I was screaming and yelling and running out the strikes and slapping my partner's hand. I had a good horse and I knew it. Sajek back on 59. Oh, the 4-7-9. They've got the 7-10 and the 4-7-9, the 2 extremes of pocket hits. This one's makeable at least, but just nothing but bad breaks so far for the team of Sajek and Carlson.
Boy, oh boy, that is a tough break. Excellent shot.
He switched balls, Denny, to shoot at this 4-7-9. Going cross lane. He's definitely going all out to make it. Not enough. Doesn't bounce out, and they're open again, both on pocket splits.
So now the door really is wide open for Dickinson and Papis. And normally, these two guys will step inside, they'll shut it, lock it, and move to the next match.
Well, that's how they've stayed around for 17 years out here on the PBA Tour. And Papis has made over $700,000 in career earnings. Dickinson over $600,000. So you've got $1.3 million between these two guys here. A solid 10 again. We see, though, what's been holding the scores down all week long. And that is, even when you get the ball to the 1-3 pocket, it's difficult enough to do that, but the pins don't want to cooperate.
George Pappas averaging 211.3 for his 42 games here at the Showboat this week. And you're right, he's probably shot at his share of corner pins.
At the 10 pin.
You mentioned this team, outstanding team of Dickinson and Pappas. Of course, George being inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year, and Dickinson, I have a feeling, will not be far behind.
Just a couple, 3 years, I think, and Gary will be joining his partner, right?
And two guys who really enjoy the heat of battle. Boy, last night in that position round game, they were really trying to get here. Dickinson, just a picture of concentration.
Carries that 10 this time.
Can't throw it much better than that. So Dickinson and Pappas in the driver's seat here in match number 1. Back with more bowling right after this. What else can you think of here that we need to chat about?
Yeah, it's nice and peaceful right now at the old Ranch House restaurant. Should have been here last night. They were busy serving up the best prime rib, lobster, steak, and chicken to be found anywhere. If you're new to the valley, you might not know about the old Ranch House. The locals have been eating here since 1951. If you'd like to get to know them, come on out and ask for the prime rib and lobster special for only $12.95, good Sunday through Thursday at the old Ranch House. Head out Rancho just past Cheyenne Avenue for great food and a relaxed atmosphere.
It's Friendly Ford's biggest summer closeout sale ever. Through special financial arrangements, make no payments till 1987. Plus, put no cash down on over 500 new cars, trucks, and vans. That means you make no June, July, August, September, October, November, or December payment. You don't pay 1 penny till 1987. Then ranges from just $129 a month. But Friendly's special financial arrangements won't last forever.
Come get the deal that you've been looking for at Friendly.
There's just one place you need to go for all the names and games making sports news. ESPN Sports Center. Twice every day, 3 times on Sunday, Chris Berman, Gail Gardner, and Greg Gumbel bring you the latest scores, the hottest trades, and the top plays from the world of sports. Sports Center takes you on the road with live remotes from major events like the NBA Finals and the Indy 500. Sports Center, your total source for sports, only on the Total Sports Network, ESPN.
Mats Karlsson, considering what he's going to have to do on this shot in the 7th frame, he has yet to strike on lane 60.
And he left the 2-pin in the 1st frame. He left the pocket 7-10 in the 3rd and the 3-6 in the 5th frame. So he's only been in the pocket 1 out of the 3 shots on the lane. Mats told me, as all the players told me, that the lane 60 was hooking a little bit more than lane 59, but it's hooking at the front part, what they call the front part of the lane, rather than the back. So it means that you just move an adjustment. You keep basically the same target, but the ball just wants to hook a little early on the players. Got his first strike, made that adjustment.
Well, that's the pro adjustment. That's what separates the men from the boys here on the tour.
And we get a good look at Carlson's style here. He pushes that ball out and then keeps the feet after it. Now watch him twist it here at the top, kind of a figure 8. Billy Whalo used to do something similar to that years ago, and they don't recommend that type of thing, but Mats makes it work for him. Sajek trying for our first double. And has it. All right.
Well, this could turn around in a big hurry, and this is what doubles is all about. This is also sort of a throwback to the 40s and the 50s of team bowling. Mike, don't you think a little bit?
Yeah, I've always regretted that I wasn't able to bowl more team bowling. I guess I'll be able to now. But team bowling and doubles bowling is always so enjoyable because it doesn't just depend on you, and it depends on your partner, and that's what makes it so tough, because both of you have to bowl well at the same time. For the double. And you see that half pocket hit where he snapped that 10-pin out. What that indicates is that he got his thumb out cleanly and had good, strong lift with his fingers.
Dickinson and Papis now up by 26, working on a double. And this, of course, is the big shot to set up things in the 9th frame. Pressure could really be applied if Dickinson strikes here.
Certainly can. Right now, the best Sajek and Carlson can do is 212 if they strike all the way out. Dickinson and Papis are going at a 2:08 pace right now. Oh, the solid 8. Well, we've seen a little bit of everything, Dan. I tell you, we've seen the pocket 7-10, the 4-9, solid 10s, and now solid 8. Under the pressure, you see how smooth the great concentration of Gary Dickinson. You'd think it was a practice shot. Look at that head, how still, eyes right on that target. Look at that finish position under pressure.
You know, Dickinson could throw a washout and look good.
He's just a very coordinated individual. 43 years old, still looks great.
Perfect form bowler.
Oh, and he's stuck. Is he going to make it? Yes. Big grin. You don't see Gary smile too often.
Well,
wow,
certainly a big break there for Dickinson, who kept his follow-through just a touch short, Don Carter style, but he covered the spare, and that's the important thing.
I'll tell you what, I bet the heart went up in the throat of Pappas as he sat and watched that.
What causes that, Mike? Why would they've been sliding in the same spot the entire game?
Could be a drop of perspiration from somebody's forehead. The lights are hot, as you said. It's hot outside, and hit that perspiration and stuck.
Carlson would love to make it 3 in a row.
Almost has to. If he doesn't get this, the best they can get is in the 190s.
And that's not good enough.
Big shot. Good shot. It just finished a little hard at the end. Leaves the 4-pin. He slaps his knee. Again, the player's responding to the pressure, but he didn't carry that forward.
That's a very, very difficult letdown to bowl all week long and to struggle to make it to the telecast. And, of course, looking on his wife. And if you think it's tough bowling, it's even tougher sitting there watching.
Yeah, and that Carlson just had a baby recently. Matt's quit the tour, the tail end of the winter tour, to go home and has a little baby boy.
So Ricky Sajek will have to step up and try and salvage things. But at this point in time, if he would strike out, would shoot 191. And all really Dickinson and Papis need is count.
As they say, it's never over till it's over. Quote Yogi Berra or whatever, but it's over now. All Dickinson and Papis have to do is show up for the 10th frame. Sajek makes this and strikes. The team will finish with 179. And you don't win many games out here with 179.
In practice, it seemed like everybody was striking.
Well, they've hit the pocket, Denny. It just the pins have not cooperated, as we see the smile on Dickinson's face, and Pappas looked like he wanted to smile.
It's frustrating, I know, for these pros to average 210, 212, 215 in a week, Mike, and come out and bowl in the doubles and shoot 170.
Well, you have to get lined up fast. The pins have to cooperate. They got nothing but bad breaks.
179, the score for Sajek and Mats Karlsson. And they'll split a check for $7,000 for their week's work here in Las Vegas.
As my addition is correct, Dickinson or Pappas needs 2 pins. Think you can handle the 2 pins then?
I don't know. I think I could probably get a couple.
He's a winner. They look strong for the next game. If they start carrying, look out.
Mike, what about now the next team coming over, Ernie, Schlegel, and Hugh Miller? They determine, because they finished higher, where Dickinson and Pappas bowl.
Well, they'll determine where they finish.
Oh, where they finish.
They can make Dickinson finish on lane 59 in the 10th frame by having whoever they want finish on the right lane. So we'll see what strategy they choose. They're going to want to pick the player they feel has the best opportunity to strike out in that 10th frame. I can remember when I got to this situation, Gil Schlegel asked me what I wanted to do, and I quite frankly told Gil that I didn't want to be put in the position of having to strike out in the 10th frame to win his first title. And so
that was good thinking.
And so we had Gil finish, and he needed Mark to win his first title, and he got it.
So the opening match goes to Dickinson and Pappas. The final score, 207-179. And up next, Ernie Schlegel and Hugh Miller. Boy, that's a tough team. And, of course, we'll be back with that match right after this. And, of course, we'll be back with bowling news as well right after this.
You know, a big wheeler dealer like me has to keep up on sports. And what's a better deal than picking up a copy of Sports Illustrated? You see...
Sir, I got a better deal.
Right, kid. You see, Sports Illustrated gives me the feeling
Sports Illustrated gave me this Football Follies video cassette. 44 minutes of football's funniest moments. And it's free with my paid subscription.
Free? Come on.
I also got 1/2 off your newsstand price. 27 action-packed weeks for 3 installments of just $9.79 each. Plus, I get their famous swimsuit issue and this NFL schedule. Free. Just call this toll-free number. You can even use your credit card.
Okay, let's get this straight. They get over 50% off the special issues, the schedule, and the free NFL tape. Now, see, kid? That's a great deal.
Gee, sir, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, Sports Illustrated? I want to renegotiate.
Sports Illustrated. Get the feeling. Call now. 1-800-221-5900.
Let's start out tonight's edition of the Bowling News by updating you on the current leading money winners in the PBA Tour at this point after the opening stop. Marshall Holman with his 14th place finish this week. Well, the Medford Meteor is now just shy of breaking the $100,000 barrier for the 6th time in his illustrious career. Walter Ray Williams Jr. is also fast approaching the 6-figure mark. And among the top 20 money winners who will add to their earnings here this evening are tournament leaders Steve Cook and also Mike Aulby. Brian Voss and Pete Weber, who just missed tonight's TV final, also added to their 86 earnings here this week at the Showboat. Now taking a look at the current average leaders. Once again, old dependable Walter Ray Williams Jr. is on top of the stack, currently averaging nearly $2.15 a game. The race is very close, though, with David Ozio and Marshall Holman just off the pace. Further down that list, our Mike Durbin is in at 211.031. One of the bowling giants in the bowling industry at this point in time is collegiate bowling, both in the men's and in the women's division. Here's now a look at the premier players across the country after this past season. Representing the first-team All-America squad as selected by the College Bowling Coaches of America, Paul Brenner, a junior out of the University of California, heads up the list, and Rick Steelsmith, a junior, helped spark his Wichita State team to a #1 team ranking in the nation. Among the women's division, Julie Bishop out of West Texas State tops the list, and then Debbie Detrani paced her Wichita State Shockers to a #1 ranking among the ladies this past season. While we're on the subject of collegiate bowling, ESPN's bowling TV coordinator Chuck Pisano was honored this past weekend. He was inducted into the Rutgers Newark University Athletic Hall of Fame based basically on his winning the intercollegiate college championships back in 1952. Now, a sad note this week in bowling, the passing of Paramus Bowling, the birthplace of professional bowling. Two pioneers of professional bowling, Frank Esposito, owner of Paramus Bowling, and Eddie Elias, the founder of the PBA just prior to the first PBA National Invitational back in 1961. Joining me now is award-winning sports writer Linda Collins out of the Las Vegas Review-Journal here in Las Vegas. And Linda, why in the world has Las Vegas become the bowling capital of the world?
Obviously, bowlers like to gamble. That's one draw. There's the facilities here to host large tournaments, both bowling facilities and hotel facilities to accommodate them. There's a lot to do in Las Vegas, and I think Las Vegas just sells itself. People like to come here.
This week, the PBA doubles, obviously. There are 3 PBA tournaments throughout the year here at the Showboat, but there are a number of other bowling events. Give us an idea of what else happens in Las Vegas.
Well, the women also hold their richest tournament of the year here at Sam's Town. It's a $100,000 tournament. The American Bowling Congress tournament is here this year. The Masters tournament was here. We get both mega buck tournaments, the big money tournaments for amateurs, the High Roller and the Lucky Strike. We get the National Amateur Bowlers, Inc., which is another large amateur group, the Collegiate Invitational, sweepers, little tournaments. We get everything here.
Sounds like you're going to be busy.
I am busy. I don't have time to go out and cover the football team.
Well, stay tuned, ladies, because Linda has a very special list coming your way in just 1 minute.
Father's Day, it's coming, and the savings are here now. Inside True Value Hardware Store's new Father's Day circular. Get Dad this ever-ready fluorescent lantern, just $8.99. Provide project ideas with the Ortho Home Improvement Encyclopedia, only $12.88. And choose quality tools like the Skill cordless screwdriver, just $18.44. Or the Plano toolbox with 15 compartments, only $14.99 at participating True Value Hardware stores.
Tell them Pat Summerall sent you.
Linda, I know you're enamored with how well the guys bowl on tour, but you have a list of slightly a different nature.
Yes, the sexiest bowlers on tour.
Sexiest?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, Brian Voss has to be up there, all beefcake and buns. He won a Best Buns contest in Florida, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he did.
Oh, well.
And you know my list of best-looking bowlers would not be complete without...
The Medford Meteor.
You're right, Marshall Holman. He has style and flair and lots of sex appeal.
Okay.
Next is Venezuelan Amleto Monticelli.
He's the foreign entry.
Yes, the women just love him. The older women want to pinch his cheeks, and the younger women want to, well, I better
what
not
cheeks?
say it.
Okay, number 4. Let's keep moving down the list.
Okay, Mark Baker, also known as Moon Over Miami. I don't think I better go into the story, but the women love him, too. They love that baby face.
You know what's great about Baker? He can bowl, too.
Yes, he can.
And what about number 5?
Ron Palombi. Jr. Bedroom eyes and a body to match.
Bedroom eyes and a body to match. Now, those are the top 5, but who is your King of Hearts?
Nelson Burton Jr., otherwise known as Bo.
Boy, that's a dandy list, the top 6. I mean, those guys should be honored. They're a part of the Sexy 6. Linda Collins Pinups, thanks for stopping by, and good luck this week. And, of course, joining me now, ESPN's color commentator, Mike Durbin. Mike, don't worry. You weren't on the list, but neither was I. But there were some other things that happened at the Showboat this week. Highlights from the tournament.
Well, I don't know if they're as exciting as that list, but always of interest in bowling are 300 games. And this week we had one 300 game that was shot by veteran Gary Dickinson as he opened up his 3rd round of qualifying with a 300 game. But perhaps the most exciting thing that happened this week was in the last game of the finals last night, where we had a father-son battle for the championship round tonight, as the team of Dick Weber and his partner Tita Semez were in 5th place. And they bowled Pete Weber, Dick's son, and Pete's teammate Brian Voss, who were in 6th place. Pete and Brian won the game, but both teams failed to qualify for tonight's championship round. Some of our other top finishers this week that finished in the top 24 were in 8th place were Dale Strike and John Mazda. In 10th place, a couple of promising young left-handers, Parker Bond III and Dwayne Fisher. 12th place, veterans Henry Gonzalez, Art Trask, Gil Sliker, 13th, my former partner. Marshall Holman and Mark Roth there. We see Tom Laskow in there. Walter Ray Williams still making money. Paul Caldwell and Wayne Zahn, a couple names from the past, and of course, colorful Guppy Troop, and Matt Serena and Bill Straub rounded out. And that's a look at our top finishers in this week's Las Vegas Doubles Tournament.
And of course, that's a look at bowling news for this week. Coming up next, match number 2, Papis and Dickinson will face Ernie Schlegel and Hugh Miller.
The best deal in town is now available at Las Vegas Dodge. 6.8% on every car and truck we build. 6.8% financing. Rates so low that conversion vans are now as low as $236 a month. 1986 Dodge 600 4-doors, only $149 a month. And if you're a cash or credit union buyer, we'll give you up to $750 factory rebate on every vehicle we build. Hurry, no one can afford to miss this great opportunity. As low as 6.8% factory financing on everything we build, but only at Las Vegas Dodge on both sides of town.
Regular subscription price. You'll also get the...
Oh, those good times, they keep rolling on at the Showboat. They keep rolling on. The Showboat, that's where you belong in Las Vegas. The Showboat. Come on along to where the fun goes on and on. Good times are rolling at the Showboat. The Showboat.
First and second round coverage, of course, beginning Thursday at noon Eastern Daylight Time. And Mike, it's a golf course where you have to hit it left to right. You'd be great there.
Oh, yeah, you'd be great.
If you could watch out for the Atlantic Ocean. Hugh Miller and Ernie Schlegel will now match up against a pair of veterans that are off to a very quick start in George Pappas and Gary Dickinson. And Hugh Miller out of Mercer Island, Washington, will throw the first shot on lane 59.
So they've decided that they want Schlegel to be their anchor man and finish in the 10th frame. And the week 7 to open up the match. Miller just didn't quite get the drive through that he was looking for that time, and the 4-pin just kind of fell short in the channel there, and didn't get up to get that 7.
Hugh Miller, a 4-time PBA titleist, was 6-0. Won his first 6 matches on television before finally losing, and that's astounding.
Anytime you go a number of years and you're undefeated out here on television, you look at some of the great players that we've had, Anthony and Roth and
Marshall Holman,
and their records on television are 500 at best. You know, a lot of them are under 500. So a lot of times, guys, when you really are great, they get pumped up to beat you. Right through the hard leaves the 3-9. Pappas looked like he thought the ball was going to set, and it didn't. Kind of get fooled on that. Now he's looking, did I stand in the right place, or should I make a move? It looks like he's debating here.
Right now, like that ball hooked a lot earlier than the last shot.
It did. I don't know whether it was an errant delivery by him or the lane is changing.
not an easy spare.
Cross lane, he didn't take much time at it. He's got it, though. Dead center. A little wry smile out of him. He says something to Gary.
I think you said something like, partner, it's time for you to get another X.
I think he said he stood on the wrong spot. I think that's what he said to Gary, that he stood on the wrong spot.
Do you think maybe you and I ought to step down there and let George know where he's supposed to be at?
Well, I've got some glasses here we could give it. Dickinson looks at the ball and then looks up at his target. Interesting. Light breaks it down for only the 2-pin.
Mike, how important is it to regroup when there is a slight break after a game and before another game, to regroup, try and keep your hand, I guess, the same size so that it doesn't swell up? It's kind of tough to wait a little while and then go up and make a real good shot.
It's exceedingly tough. In between matches on television, I always used to go over to the adjacent lane and throw as many practice shots as they would allow me to have. Some players take the philosophy, they're not going to practice in between, but I just never did take that philosophy. Ooh! Well, he said he didn't want to hit it too hard. He might be the head pin the next time around.
Well, you never want to bruise those pins, but Gary Dickinson, I think, wishes he had that one back, although he did get the spares. So Dickinson and Papis with 19 in the first.
Well, you remember Gary shot the 2-pin there. He shot the 8-pin the time before and stuck. Maybe going in his mind there, he was a little afraid of sticking.
Once you get apprehension out here, you could come up with some problems. Ernie Schlegel with his first shot here in game number 2.
And he looks uptight, doesn't he? Now he backs off. Heard something. Ernie was known for years for being an exceedingly slow bowler, and he speeded up in the last few years, taking less time.
Also took a re-rack.
Didn't get out of that one clean at all. But gets the wall shot anyway.
Well, he'll growl at you, no question. If he strikes, he's going to come back and let you know about it.
5-step delivery, large first step, lets the ball go, somewhat controlled swing, and at this point his thumb hangs in the ball, but he knows it's going to hit the pocket anyway, and he's running it out. Actually, he was rather fortuitous strike.
Hugh Miller, who averaged 217.6 and pretty much carried the load for this team throughout the first 2 days of the tournament. Likes that shot, and he strikes. That was flush in the 1-2 pocket.
Well, he had the other one right there, too. Left the 7-pin. This team looks like they've got the pocket wired in.
Hugh Miller, one of the players out here that seems to be able to block everything out when you bowl on television. And a lot of guys can't do that, but he seems to be in his own area when the lights go on.
Well, that's been his track record over the past. Even the one match he lost this year, he shot 234, so. Pappas trying for the first strike for Dickinson. Pappas gets the light, but leaves the 8-pin. Now, the contrast, he made some kind of an adjustment there because that other shot dove through the pins, and this one didn't want to quite finish.
George Pappas became the first player ever to lead the Firestone Tournament of Champions from wire to wire and win it in 1979.
And I remember that tournament. I crossed right next to him. He opened up the first game with 268. I can still remember that, and, you know, from wire to wire, it was from the opening game right on through.
Has that happened since? I don't believe it ever has.
I don't think it's happened since, no.
What about Steve Cook when he won? I'm trying to think. If he didn't lead it from wire to wire, it was close.
He led it wire to wire the next year after that.
And lost on television.
And then I snuck it out from him on TV.
Oh, you were the one who got him.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Dickinson looking for his first strike in game number 2. And that went a little high and through the nose, and actually fortunate to break up the split.
He looked like he had problems sliding again. He looked down at his foot as he finished. Gary's always had a habit of, before the shot, he puts that thumb up to his mouth and actually puts his tongue on the thumb. We all do our little idiosyncrasies, and I always blow in the thumb hole, and actually gotten a few players out here on television now that do that. 2 fingers. He uses that spares. It makes a 6-10.
Well, he covers, but Miller and Schlegel currently leading by 14. They're on a double, and they'll throw in the 4th right after this timeout.
CarQuest Auto Parts stores are celebrating a dozen great years of helping you get the job done right. So celebrate CarQuest 12th anniversary with savings like Turtle Wax Super Hard Shell Wax, paste or liquid, just $2.99. And Zip Wax Car Wash, only $1.99. Buy both and get $2 back with a manufacturer's rebate. Or how about an AM/FM cassette headphone stereo, just $19.95. If you like savings, CarQuest 12th anniversary is your celebration. CarQuest, the right place to buy auto parts.
takes to win. In this game, it takes more control, more power, more precision, more curve. One ball has it all. One ball dominates winning on the Pro Tour. The Black U-Dot from Columbia 300. The Black U-Dot, the ball of champions. Columbia 300, sold only in lanes or pro shops.
Thursday, ESPN Speed Week highlights Milwaukee's American 200, the first IndyCar race following the 500, the International Race of Champions, and NASCAR action from the Pocono International Speedway. Then the U.S. Open Championship. Masters champion Jack Nicklaus tees off against defending champion Andy North in search of his second straight Grand Slam victory. See the greatest moments from our live first-round coverage Thursday only on ESPN.
Still more golf coming your way on ESPN this coming Sunday. The Crosby beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. And the celebrity list this year including Bob Hope, Glenn Campbell, Pearl Bailey, Pat Boone, Flip Wilson, and Hal Linden. Geez, I wonder if Pearl Bailey can play golf.
Is that at Pebble Beach?
No, it's not. For the first time ever at Bermuda Run Country Club near Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And if I'm not mistaken, they'll be back at Pebble Beach next year.
You ever played that course down?
Pebble Beach?
Yes.
Yes, I have. Played it with Marshall Holman and Harry Golden.
Oh, did you?
Back in 1980.
What'd you shoot?
Played it back in 1980. Shot about 83. The wind started blowing in off the ocean. I got a couple of free ball washes. You know how that goes.
I've never played. I just walked it. For three, he hasn't.
Well, Ernie Schlegel, not known for arcing the ball, just rips the rack on lane 60, and Schlegel and Miller have taken a 24-pin lead after just 4 frames.
And they seem to have the magic combination here with Miller lined in on 59 and Schlegel lined in on 60, and that's what it takes. You don't have to be able to hit both lanes, just one of them.
Well, I like their approach, a lefty and a righty, so you go ahead and give it a shot from both sides. Tough to line up off each other, though.
For 4 in a row, and knocks that 7-pin out of there. They're rolling. Watch Hugh from the side here, 5-step player, and that ball controlled here. Now watch him hoist that swing up and then about shoulder high, head right on the target there. Good follow through, and the result was all 10 in the pit. Papis trying for their first strike of the match,
and still turned away a stubborn 4-pin. George, who bowled very well in the opening game on that right-hand lane, is struggling just a little bit. He's hit the pocket the last couple of frames, but can't seem to come up with the X.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're falling further behind with each passing frame. You got to get something going in a hurry if they want to stay in this match.
When somebody throws a 4-bagger at you, you better hitch up your pants and get started, because if not, you're going to find yourself behind in a hurry.
Especially when you haven't had a strike yet. You're not going to win this match with spares.
If there is a team out here, though, that can come from behind in the late go, it's Dickinson and Papis.
Well, they've looked at 4-baggers before. It doesn't send shivers down their spine.
On the left-hand lane again, Gary Dickinson.
Oh. Well, in the opening match, we saw Sajek and Carlson get nothing but bad breaks, and so far that's the fate of Dickinson and Papis in game number 2. He's definitely in the position where he has to go for this, Dan. He'll move to the right and try and hit that 4-pin thin on the left and slide it over into the 9. He's aiming at about 1/8 of an inch at 60 feet.
Dickinson gives it a try, but not quite enough.
Same thing Sajek did. Didn't quite get across. Anticipated it hooking more than it did.
Talk about comfortable leads. Miller and Schlegel now plus 48. They lead by 48, and they're only halfway through game number 2.
And the way Ernie acts, you'd think he's behind. I mean, he pumps those shoulders, goes through the same regimen, wipes that ball off, shakes those shoulders again. He wants to get loose.
I talked to Ernie earlier this week, and he said, Denny, I'm going back to the old health regimen. Gave up the smoking, gave up drinking the beer, running, pumping the iron every day. I'm going to get back into physical shape and get tough mentally, and I'm going to come out here and win.
Well, he said things like that before, and he's done it.
He says every 6 months or so, I've got to rearrange things, take a new approach.
43 years old. Not his fault. What are you going to do? He kind of shakes his head, yes, but boy, the 710, the second one we've seen on lane 60.
Mike, is it a possibility that it's the rack in that case where maybe the 5-pin might be just a little off spot or no?
As we watch it here, we get a view. Let's look at the head pin and look at the 5 if we can see them. The head pin goes in front and Ernie's blocking our view, but I think the 5-pin went behind. Ernie throws hard at the 10, trying to bounce it out. The answer to your question is I really don't know. I do know that Gil Schlegel, being my partner, one time we needed a strike to beat Pete Weber and Mark Fay on this pair, and Gil Schlegel needed a strike on lane 60 and left the swishing 710 way back. This was 5 or 6 years ago. So maybe it's just a characteristic of lane 60 that seems to prevail even with changing of the finishes or changing of the lanes or changing of the pins.
You bowlers are amazing. You can remember shots and frames from 5 years ago.
Miller back in the pocket, leaves the soft 7-pin. Still a comfortable lead of 34 pins, but you never know when that momentum can turn around. That pocket 710 gives Dickinson and Papis a faint glimmer of hope.
It wouldn't surprise me if Papis struck in the next shot.
Well, he better. If he
You're right.
doesn't, they haven't got many frames left. Cross lane at the 7-pin, no problem.
Well, Miller and Schlegel still doing what they have to do to stay ahead. They lead by 34. Back with more bowling right after this.
Tough guy, personified. Howie Long, how do you get a smooth shave that's not tough on your wallet?
Get personified.
Get persona.
When I was growing up, I didn't spend all my time playing tennis. I also had my share of chores, like washing the family car. Now I'm breaking in my replacement. Kids today don't really realize how easy they've got it. You see, we have a JetX.
Yes, superior technology has created the JetX Power Spray Washer. It accelerates water to 20 times its normal speed to wash away dirt and grime in minutes. Even second-story windows become beautifully clean. Use this fan tip to power spray your car with JetX super concentrated suds. Then rinse away road dirt and grime. And right now, JetX can save you money. Look for this $3 factory rebate on the package or wherever JetX is sold.
It does all that and more, so take it from a pro. Get a JetX. Now I can spend all my time playing tennis.
Spray wash like a pro with the JetX Power Spray Washer.
Get a $3 factory rebate on the JetX Power Spray Washer. Look for this product at these fine stores.
900-976-1313. ESPN Dial Sports, the number for the latest scores, stats, and trends, plus ESPN programming information. For just 50 cents a call, you get the country's best scoreboard service, plus our primetime lineup. 900-976-1313. ESPN Dial Sports. Call anytime.
The track record of George Pappas and Gary Dickinson in this event is outstanding. They have cashed in 10 of 11 tournaments, led the first ever Doubles Classic in 1976. They bowled it right here, and guess what? They lost on the television show.
They certainly proved that they're a good doubles combination. Maybe that's because they throw the ball so similar that they can line up off one another as they're crossing lanes. Many of our viewers don't know that during the week, the pros move from the pair they're bowling on every game. It's a new pair. 7th frame action, looking for his first strike. You said he would strike.
I've seen him bowl so many times, so many games, so many pressure matches. And he just delivers when the heat is on, and it is on at this point, as Gary Dickinson would love to step up and double in the 8th and at least put a little pressure on Schlegel and Miller.
Right. And we should mention at this time that while $25,000 is given away every week for a 300 game, this week it's not, because the players are not bowling a full game by themselves. So even if we should happen to get a 300 game, what seems unlikely, it won't be 25,000. And there's the double. They kept themselves alive. That's that experience.
Seasoned veterans, and of course, True Value Hardware supplying that $25,000 check.
High flush. 2-pin gets the 4 and 7, but almost went over him. Did you see that?
That's as good as a royal flush, isn't it? Boy, he studies this one all the way, and he knows it's good. It's just a question of whether it's going to carry, and yes, it did.
See, his body English told you that he was worried about that 4-pin. He was thinking 4.
So a big double in the 7th and the 8th for Dickinson and Papis.
Schlegel started and stopped and then started again. There's the result. You see, I never like that when that happens. If I feel like starting and then don't and then start again, I lose my concentration. I cannot maintain it.
You talk about routines, Mike. You get into routines that you go through every single time you step up and you throw a shot. Isn't it better to put the ball down, get back into your reset?
And that's what I would have done, yes.
Well, Schlegel chose not to.
Broke up the split. At the 6-10, has it.
Ernie obviously struggling just a little bit out there, but Miller and Schlegel still lead by 22. As Hugh Miller will shoot in the 9th frame. This is a key shot. This could really open up the door for Ernie in the 10th.
But there's still potential. 234 if they strike all the way out. And the best, if my addition is right, that Papis and Dickinson can get is 222. Foundation frame.
Key shot there, and Miller delivered. Out of Mercer Island, Washington.
Yeah, that light hit, he just ripped them apart. That 5 just went flying into that 10.
And we've talked about this before. It just seems to me, Mike, like the light hit, in most cases nowadays, just seems to be a higher percentage hit sometimes than the flush hit.
It certainly seems to be. That's correct. Must situation for George Pappas. 9th frame, they're 22 pins down. Has to have this one to set it up for the 10th frame for his partner.
Well, Pappas has won 10 PBA titles, including the Firestone, so he's been in this position before.
Threw it well. Boy, did he throw that nice.
Coming off that wrist surgery that you and I have talked about, he completely restructured a couple of tendons in his right wrist. Doctor said, hey, you're going to have to bowl with pain maybe the rest of your life, but right now he looks pretty good.
Look at that concentration. Follow through, pressure shot. He's looking at the 10-pin, Denny. That's what he's looking at. He said, oh, did you see that? Oh, yes, he said. 10th frame.
Pressure squarely on the shoulders of his partner. 6'4" Gary Dickinson out of Burleson, Texas.
Down by 12, can cut it to 2 with this first one. And his partner stands up and says, all right.
Well, Dickinson was down on one knee. He knew it was a solid shot when he let it go. It was just a question of whether or not it would be 10 in the pit. That's exactly what happened.
And you'd never know it by the look on his face. He's just so cool under the heat. One more to take the lead then. They were down at one point, I think, by 48 pins, and you said it was a comfortable lead. But we said it's never over till it's over.
I lied. That happens out here every single game. That's what makes it such a great game.
For the lead. Right, solid.
Well, you can't stuff it in there. You can't stuff it any better than that. This is solid 1-3 pocket all the way.
All the way. 10 in the pin. Right in there. And here's his reaction. He knows it's there. He doesn't run out many, but this one he's running out and almost fell down. He slipped there.
Well, a possible 222 for the team of Gary Dickinson and George Pappas.
We can have a tie. There's a potential tie here. Every pin is still important right here. Light, but carries. What a finish by those two bowlers. 6 in a row after the commercial break. The light hit. The head pin will go to the wall, come back and get the 4, 5, and 7. And Ernie Schlegel now needs the first strike and 9 pins and a spare for them to win by a pin.
Schlegel with 4 PBA titles, spent his first 12 years on the tour searching for a victory.
And then he beat Nelson Burton Jr. in Kansas City. In fact, his first 3 wins, I'll get to that later. He's in the pocket, light, and it fell! And you hear him, fruit salad. That's a classic Ernie Schlegel.
Fruit salad, what is that, Mike Durbin?
The light hit.
The ball never touched the 5 pin.
Carries the 4, 5, 7. The fruit salad is Ernie's classic way of saying, hey, that was a good result. And now we don't have a full rack. There's not a 6 pin in the rack. And to get back to what I was talking on earlier, his first 3 titles, he beat Nelson Burton Jr., he beat George Pappas, and he beat Mike Durbin. And all 3 times we were all presidents of the PBA. He was the president killer.
He was the assassin.
Yeah, right.
Well, we'll wait for the rest of the re-rack here on lane 60. The rack came down minus the 6 pin, which is great for left-handers.
Right now, he needs 9 pins and a spare for them to finish with 223. If he gets Right, if he shot at this right now, our director just whispered in our ear, there's only 9 out there. He shot at this.
Yes, Kent Samuel said, oh, hey, all he's got to do is knock the 9 down that are there, and let's just go on to the next match.
Trouble is, in 1837, I think it was, they switched this game from 9 pins to 10. So
1837.
Yeah.
I'm glad I know that now. It's a great trivia question. So now Ernie needs 9 on the first shot, and if that's the case, then Miller and Schlegel will advance into the semifinal game against Joe Salvemini and John Gant.
If he gets 8 and a spare, we can have a tie, 7, and he's a loser. And he's pumping them shoulders.
That's his way to try and relax a little bit. Pressure is really on here at the Showboat.
Solid. That's it. Great finish by both teams.
Couldn't ask for a better 9th and 10th frame. The tension was there, the pressure was there, and Mike, really all the pros delivered.
They all delivered, all 4 of them. And what's a little ironic here is behind the scenes, there's always this kibitzing that goes on between Papis and Schlegel. In the paddock, they're always at each other.
Well, Ernie will have him this week. But George Pappas, I'm sure, will bounce back as Schlegel strikes. And the final score there, 234, 222. And coming up in just a moment or so, Mike Durbin's bowling tip.
Hi, this is Gary Ackerman, and behind me is the Gauden Ford used car inspection team, preparing another quality used car for you. At Gauden Ford, we make sure every used car sold is in the best condition. Like an 84 Dodge Omni for just $47.95, an 85 Toyota King Cab for just $69.95, or an 81 Camaro Berlinetta for just $45.95. There's no safer place to buy a low-mileage used car than Gauden Ford Saab. After all, our name is on it.
Gauden Ford Saab, used car headquarters.
In just 3 years, homeowners and construction workers have dug up utility lines over 1,500 times, costing $1 million in repairs. Homes and businesses lost power, gas, and telephone service. Live wires and dangerous utility lines were unearthed. If you're on the job or at home and you're digging a few inches or a few feet, avoid underlying problems and costly repairs. Call before you dig. 1-800-227-2600.
It was exciting, the final. Schlegel and Miller winning 234, 222. And Mike, look at all the strikes in the 10th frame.
Boy, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of strikes to close out that game. 6 and 4, 10 in a row by those 4 guys.
Let's take a look at what will be happening down the road next week. The $125,000 Kessler Open live next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. of course Pacific Daylight Time.
And we go on there to Seattle for the $120,000 Firebolt Open, live Wednesday, June 25th, again at 9 and 6.
Then time to head down John Wooden Way, Southern California. The Open, $115,000 there.
And the Miller Lite Challenge on Golden Pin Lanes in Tucson, Arizona, a favorite of mine, as I won there a few years back and finished 2nd there last year.
And of course, the general manager, Pete Tanis, what a great friend he is of the PBA. But let's take a break now and learn how to shoot some of those right-hand spares, the 3-pin and the 6-pin. This is Mike Durbin's tip.
Hi. This week, we're going to learn how to make 2 really very simple spares. That is the 6-pin and the 3-pin. Also, the rules that I'll give you to make these 2 spares will probably apply to the 6-10, the 6-9-10, the 3-6, and the 3-6-10. Now, in order to learn how to make the 6-pin first, we have to go back and do a little bit of a review from last week on how we made that 10-pin. If you remember, we talked about the dots back here. The last dot over to the left was the 30th board. And we got a reference point in order to shoot our 10-pin. And that reference point was the 37th board. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 37th board over here. And I used that 37th board and used the 3rd arrow out there to make the 10-pin. Now, in order to make the 6-pin, what I want to do is use that same reference point and move 3 boards to the right. 1, 2, 3. And use that new reference point, the same 3rd arrow, to shoot my 6-pin. Let's try it. Get myself lined up on the board. And again, remember that I want to take my hand and put it right behind the ball. I'm not going to turn it. I'm going to throw it basically straight at that spare, right over that third arrow. The fingers go in first, set myself up, look at the third arrow, here I go. There's the 6-pin. And that'll probably work also for the 6-10 and the 6-9-10. Now we want to learn what we're going to do to make the 3-pin. To make the 3-pin, I'm going to move 3 more boards to the right, which means I'm going to be standing on board 31. Now remember, to make the 10-pin, I was on board 37. To make the 6-pin, on board 34. Now to make the 3-pin, I'm over to board 31. And again, I'm going to use the third arrow from the right out there as my target. Now, when I leave combinations of the 3-pin, the 3-6 or the 3-6-10, this move probably won't quite work. The reason why is this move will bring the ball up heavy to make the 3-pin solidly. To make those 2 spares, I need to hit the 3-pin on the right, so I need to use a little common sense and move a board or so left to make the 3-6 or the 3-6-10. Right now, I'm just interested in making this 3-pin. So again, very carefully put the inside edge of my left foot on the 31st board, set myself up, and again, I want to try and throw the ball basically straight at this spare so that it doesn't hook. We're ready to go. Here we are. There's how to make the 3-pin. Again, to make the 3-6 or the 3-6-10, you want to add probably a board left to make those 2 spares. What I want to emphasize is that you get out of your mind that a single pin spare is harder to make than spares in groups. Really, a single pin spare is easier because I have the width of the ball on one side, the width of the ball on the other side, and the width of the pin. Really, about 20 inches altogether in order to make that spare. So keep that in mind the next time you have a single pin spare. Next week, we're going to look at how to make a couple splits on the right side. The baby split, the 3-10, and its companion, the 3-9-10. We'll see you then.
The semifinal match is coming up next. Ernie Schlegel and Hugh Miller will take on Salvey and also Gant. Should be a good one.
You know, a big wheeler dealer like me has to keep up on sports. And what's a better deal than picking up a copy of Sports Illustrated? You see...
Sir, I got a better deal.
Right, kid. You see, Sports Illustrated gives me the feeling
Sports Illustrated gave me this Football Follies video cassette. 44 minutes of football's funniest moments. And it's free with my paid subscription.
Free? Come on.
I also got 1/2 off your newsstand price. 27 action-packed weeks for 3 installments of just $9.79 each. Plus, I get their famous swimsuit issue and this NFL schedule. Free. Just call this toll-free number. You can even use your credit card.
Okay, let's get this straight. They get over 50% off the special issues, the schedule, and the free NFL tape. Now, see, kid? That's a great deal.
Gee, sir, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, Sports Illustrated? I want to renegotiate.
Sports Illustrated. Get the feeling. Call now. 1-800-221-5900.
Bing Crosby started it.
I only play golf for the fun. Tomorrow's my lucky day.
Catherine Crosby has revived the friendly, charitable atmosphere of the original Crosby Clam Bake. This year's star-studded tournament includes celebrities from entertainment, sports, business, and government. Enjoy the fun, the entertainment, and the golf. Celebrate the 1986 Crosby, Sunday night at 7:30 Eastern, only on ESPN.
Coming up this Sunday, live on ESPN, it's Formula One racing, the Canadian Grand Prix, Sunday, June 15th at 11:50 a.m. Eastern, 8:50 a.m. Pacific time. And Mike, is there any truth to the rumor that you're going to become a Formula One driver after your bowling career is over?
No truth to that rumor at all. And here we have our prize list this week. We see first place, $25,000 split between the 2 bowlers. Second, $13,000. The loser of this match will take home $9,000. Papis and Dickinson got $8,004 apiece, and Sajek and Carlson split $7,000.
And the handshakes between the 2 teams, and Joe Salvey, a very talented left-hander, will open up for the number 2 seed team, and he'll start on lane 59.
And again, Joe doesn't make the championship round often, but when he does, he's usually a threat to win.
First shot out of the gate, and it's a good one, but a solid 6-pin. You mentioned the fact that he does take advantage. He won his first title, and he beat a Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia in the Rolaids Open 206 to 200. So it's not easy to get to the telecast, and it's even tougher to beat a Hall of Famer.
I think in that particular tournament, too, it was in St. Louis, Missouri. He doubled in the 10th frame to win that match. So it was a clutch performance for him. And I was on the particular telecast he won the second time in Syracuse when he wound up beating Steve Cook, who had whipped me.
Retired you that day. Mike, how did you ever win 14 titles and 3 Firestones? Every time we chat about your career, it's always, well, this guy beat me here and this guy beat me there.
I wonder myself sometimes.
Ernie Schlegel, after some clutch bowling in game number 2, will open up for the team of Schlegel and Miller.
Well, Miller's going to have to finish in the 10th frame here. The strategy between Gant and Salvey is to make Miller finish. They saw what Schlegel did. And interesting, he starts it off with a solid 10, but he didn't lead. That was a better shot than when he threw the first one in the 10th the last game, but this one didn't strike, and that other one did. So again, it's not necessarily how well you throw it, it's how many fall down.
In the long run, they count them all up and mark them down.
That's certainly true. Tommy Hudson used to say that they didn't pay for looks out here, they paid for results. At the 10-pin. Spare that Ernie very, very seldom misses.
You're right about his attire this evening. Very conservative for Ernie Schlegel.
Very conservative. But the thing is that they wanted both partners to look somewhat similar.
And Hugh said he wouldn't wear the sequins, right?
Well, he didn't know. I don't think they have one that would fit him, so.
Well, Ernie's lovely wife, Catherine, not on hand here this evening, but if she was, I'm sure she'd have something for him to wear.
Right through the heart, leaves the 2-4. Looked like just a lapse in concentration. Again, the break between games, and sometimes it's hard to get your thoughts back together, your composure back together. Avoided the split.
Hugh Miller, 8 years now a member of the PBA with 4 titles. Won the Quaker State Open twice. It's been a favorite tournament of his. And has won nearly $175,000 in his career.
At the 2-4. Ooh, just got it. And we see here he almost chops at the ball, just nicks the 4-pin, and the breeze knocked it over, as we say.
Okay, bowling fans, get ready for this next shot, the opening shot for John Gant. Keep your eyes peeled because this ball will have a few revolutions on it as it heads down the lane.
And that's the result, too.
That is a bone crusher.
Or a buzzsaw. Look at that ball revolving. If you could count them, I don't know how many they are, but it's a lot.
Mike, he may have more revolutions on one shot than Ernie does in an entire game. But Schlegel never misses a spare. Boy, talk about contrasting styles here tonight.
For a double. And they have it.
Well, the first chance that Salvey and Gant have to put a little pressure on, they take advantage.
You suppose that Ernie Schlegel feels like a minority group out here? I mean, he's the only right-hander left.
Easily the most tenacious player on the tour. Will not give up. I don't care what the score is, what the count is. There's a lot of fans all over the country.
He claimed the USA as his home. Knocks that 10-pin out of there this time.
It's now up to Hugh Miller to try and double up here in the 4th as Miller and Schlegel trail by 12.
Miller asking for a re-rack on lane 59.
Might explain to the fans that there are only 3 re-racks per team, per game.
Per game. It used to be that after the 3 re-racks, our tournament director, Harry Golden, would have to come out and take a look at it, but our executive board at their last spring meeting has voted that they get 3 per game, and that's it. I mean, you use them strategically, you don't get any more.
Well, let's see if he can take advantage of it.
Gave this one room, too much room. He's just lost his composure all of a sudden. High the one shot, misses the head pin the next shot. Suddenly, the ball's going everywhere.
In the opening game, I was going to say, Mike, that I don't think Hugh Miller missed the pocket.
No, he was there all the time. Just suddenly, between the break of games, he's not been able to get his act back together. He's got a tough spare here in the 1-3-6. Can't afford to give any pins away right here. Makes it.
Miller covers the spare, and when we come back, John Gant will try and make it 3 in a row for his team right after this.
The dictionary says a referee is the final authority in administering a game. Coaches say a referee is, well, you know what coaches say, but pity the poor referee. It's a hard day's work, but how hard?
The Manville Challenge? How many times does the whistle blow on the average during an NBA game? 50, 75, or 100?
You've heard about the people of Manville and their goal to be America's best supplier. Best supplier of what? Good question. Best supplier of products like extremely efficient industrial lighting fixtures and highly advanced insulation for some very special applications. Packaging, too. All kinds of wrappers and cartons and carriers. 21,000 people with one goal. To be America's best supplier of products like these. That's Manville.
How many times does the whistle blow on the average during an NBA game? 50? No way. 75? Closer. 100? Right. 100 times a game the whistle blows. And 100 times, well, at least 75, someone insists the ref is wrong.
Brighten your colors, sharpen your sound with high-tech components designed to astound. Fine-tune your life with Emerson. Amazing new features, the ultimate prize. Step into the future, we'll open your eyes. Fine-tune your life. Emerson feels so right. Emerson. Fine-tune your life with Emerson. Emerson.
Back here at the Showboat Lanes, and there's Joe's lovely wife, Pam Salvemini, looking up the score, counting up the score, and she knows that her husband's team is ahead right now and can increase that lead with one more strike here by Gant. The buzzsaw wings it out there. Interesting that all those revs on that ball, and he still leaves the weak 7.
Well, it's timing, too, and where you throw it in the pocket. Gant, 6'2", 190 pounds, was a standout pitcher, baseball pitcher for the University of Cincinnati, and opted professional bowling career, and it's worked out pretty well. He was Rookie of the Year in 1984.
5 steps. He used to take 4. Added an extra step to make those 7 pins, I guess. See John from the front here. See that 5-step delivery. Pushes it out. Watch his finish. As he finishes kind of stiff-legged. Not much bend. Bent over the waist a little bit. Again, not classic textbook style, but he makes it work for him. I guess he practices a lot.
Well, if you can repeat, I guess that's the whole key. Salvemini on the left-hand lane, 6 years, has been a member of the PBA and has 2 PBA titles, and he's looking for number 3 here this evening. Good deep knee bend, and that one a little bit high, and the 6-pin stands, but pretty fortunate to leave just the 6.
Just a little soft with that speed that time, and Joe does that. He doesn't throw real hard like Gant or like Schlegel does. He has that softer speed. His trouble in the past, though, has been spares, missing spares a lot of times.
Quite a contrast between he, the stroker, and Gant, of course, the power player.
Makes the 6-pin. See the contrast. He's a 5-step player, too. Turns that right shoulder forward. Closes it some at the end, but you see him clench those teeth there at the end. Concentration there.
Ernie Schlegel making his 28th appearance on national television. His overall record, 19 wins, 23 losses, so he's a little below 500.
Well, we've added one more win here. I'd like to add a couple more. Almost looked like Ernie was talking to himself on the way up there that time as he gets that strike.
That might be his best shot, other than maybe the second shot in the 10th frame of that first game when they knocked off Gary Dickinson and George Pappas.
Ernie is just wired into lane 60. It seems like he cannot go high. The ball is just setting all the way at the pins and still getting enough at the back end to knock out the pins. Hugh Miller's been lost his first 2 frames.
Trying to double and square up the match.
And does. Got it back together. Evens the match, dead even.
That one was right on the money, and whatever adjustment needed to be made, obviously Hugh Miller has done that. So Miller and Schlegel in a position to try and make things difficult for John Gant and Joe Salvey. And of course, waiting in the wings, the #1 seeds, Steve Cook and Mike Aulby.
Sixth frame. Oh, boy, is that pretty to watch.
You know what's great about that shot is the way the pins sort of reel off and spin. They're going straight back into the pit, but they're rotating as they head to that black pit.
Let's watch the pins as this monster ball enters the 1-2 pocket here. Let's see if we can see that rotation. Watch the head pin here. It spins. Oh, yeah, there's that 2 pin just spinning as it went back off.
Mike, that ball even rotates in slow motion.
To take the lead. And they do.
Right back, Gant and Salvey. They answer with a double of their own, and we'll be back with the conclusion of this match right after this timeout.
Hi, honey, I'm home. Ooh, I like the way it looks.
I'll be finished soon.
Oh, good. Look, I bought you some new fishing clothes.
Hey, those are nice. Thanks. In fact, I'll wear them this afternoon.
From work to weekends, Dickies are America's favorite work clothes, made with Celanese 412 polyester.
We love to get pizza to go, except my family won't let me pick it up anymore. I don't know what happens to me. I get possessed. I get crazy. I can't help myself. I had to have a slice right then and there in the car. There is a problem. Do you have any idea what it's like to try to piece together all of these slices so that they'll look like a whole pizza again? Listen, it worked when the kids were little.
Energizer Halogen, a light so bright, so white, no ordinary light can match it. The Energizer Halogen flashlight, up to 300% more light than ordinary flashlights. And it's Energizer rugged, even waterproof. The Energizer Halogen flashlight, so bright, so incredibly bright, it outshines ordinary flashlights, up to 300% brighter. From Energizer.
Ernie Schlegel, 21,000, just a fraction better thus far this year. Had a bit of an off year in 85, great year in 84, probably his best ever when he won twice and won better than 60,000. Wonder what kind of a prize fighter he'd have been. It surprises me he took up bowling rather than fighting, the way he likes to get out there and get after people.
He was going through exercises, stretching everything in between during the commercial break. Trying to keep himself loose and keep that concentration sharp.
One of the unique players on the PBA Tour. He's his own personality.
He's unique in meetings, too. For 3, knocks that 10-pin out of there. You see that ball is actually falling back. It's setting all the way. It still has enough power to knock out the 8-10.
It's almost like the days of Coco Johnson or Don McCune with that fallback shot.
Watch it, watch it. It is falling back. It's hardly rotating, a little bit, but just enough. Boy, the 5-8-10 were the last ones down, but they went down.
Now Hugh Miller will try and make it 4 in a row
to take the lead for the first time in the match.
Strikes in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and hopefully in the 8th.
He's light, comes up. Oh, boy, did that ball finish.
It was funny, I had a chance to chat with Hugh earlier today and ask him about Ernie, but let's take a look at the replay
Look
first.
at it, just finished so hard in the last 10 feet there. And he's gotten himself squared away and found out whatever he was struggling with the first couple frames, and the last 2 had just been dead flush.
I talked with Hugh earlier today. I said, what was it like bowling with Ernie? This is the 2nd year. He said, well, it's an experience, but he's a great player, and it's a lot of fun.
To even the match. Couldn't respond. The baby split the 2-4, and he's in the position they have to make this. They have to make this split. They're down by 12 pins if he makes it. If he misses it, they go down to the 20s. stiff-legged finish here. It lifts the devil out of that ball.
Literally tears the finger holes out of it.
At the 2-4, doesn't make it, and they're in big trouble. Suddenly they go from ahead in the match. They're down by over 20 pins now.
Well, a key open there in the 8th. And now Salvey and Gant, if they strike out, the best they could shoot would be 224.
And Miller and Schlegel going at a 228 pace. They're definitely in the driver's seat. Salvey must strike here in the 9th frame to keep them any chance. And is he going to get lucky? Nope. Leaves the 7-pin. Looks like Miller and Schlegel are in good shape here. They've risen to the occasion when they needed to. Behind in the match, came through with 4 in a row. Aulby and Cook better have their strike clothes on.
I have a feeling they will. They've been striking all week here at the Showboat. Salvey, nice conversion of the 7-pin. Shakes his head a little bit, obviously disappointed. And Miller and Schlegel now lead by 24, and they're working on a 4-bagger.
One here in the 9th frame would just about be the icing on the cake. The best Salvey and Gant can get is 214. They have to hope that Miller and Schlegel would open here and they could strike out in the 10th.
Miller and Schlegel working on a possible 258. That's a bunch.
Especially as tough as the carry's been that we've seen today. Good speed. And he blows that 5 out of there. Do you believe that shot? Even Ernie's a little reaction to that shot. Watch it. The ball is fading. It will just nick the 5-pin. Watch. Just get it, but just enough.
Well, that's better than the first shot in the 10th against Dickinson and Papis. And, oh, I'm going to run, take it all the way down to the end of the Showboat. And he'll jog it right back home, but it's a strike, and that's all that counts. Hugh Miller trying to just wrap things up here in the semifinal game, and it's the Greek church.
And I think that's still enough. I mean, and the reason it's the Greek church is because it reminds, with all the pins on the different sides there, it reminds people of the spires of the old Greek architecture in Europe. And they're adding up the score here, but I think he needs one of them. And he got 3. It should be enough if my addition is right. Yeah, he finishes with 219.
Hugh Miller smiling as he walks back towards Ernie Schlegel, but they are the winners in the semifinal match as they shoot 219, and Hugh sort of breathes a little easier at this point.
What do you do right now if you're cooking Albby? Do you make Miller finish last in that championship match?
I think the way Ernie is bowling right now, I think I would obviously put the pressure on Hugh Miller. He has bowled pretty well, but Ernie has not missed the pocket.
Yeah, Ernie's he's wired
and I don't expect that he's going to miss it between here and the end of the next game.
If it were me, I would make Miller finish the match.
John Gant trying to finish things up. A strike here would give Salvey and Gant a 203 game, but it will be Miller and Schlegel, the guys that played all the odds here this week with a left-hander and a right-hander, and they'll match up against the top seeds, Mike Aulby and Steve Cook, a team that won this tournament last year from the top seed position. A slashing strike for Gant, the final. 219-203. Schlegel and Miller will advance into the title match here of the $130,000 Showboat PBA Doubles Classic, and they'll bowl for the title right after this.
It's Friendly Ford's biggest summer closeout sale ever. Through special financial arrangements, make no payments till 1987. Plus, put no cash down on over 500 new cars, trucks, and vans. That means you make no June, July, August, September, October, November, or December payment. You don't pay 1 penny till 1987. Then ranges from just $129 a month. But Friendly's special financial arrangements won't last forever.
Come get the deals that you've been looking for at Friendly Ford. They keep rolling on at the Showboat. They keep rolling on. The Showboat, that's where you belong in Las Vegas. The Showboat. Come on along to where the fun goes on and on. Good times are rolling
Sunday. The world's top drivers take on one of Formula One's most difficult courses live on ESPN. It's the Canadian Grand Prix, and the Montreal circuit is filled with twists and turns that test man and machine to the limit. The Canadian Grand Prix, live Sunday on ESPN. The U.S. Open begins Thursday on ESPN. Catch every unbelievable shot as it happens, live on ESPN.
In the 8th frame action, John Gant got up trailing by 10 pins in the match, and a strike would have evened it up. He was on lane 60, and he threw the ball slightly high and left. I think I said at the time he left the 2-4, but I was in error there. He actually left the 2-7, the baby split for the left-hander, as we see the ball going high at the pocket. Right about here, it starts hooking too high. If he'd have struck there, he'd have evened the match. He'd left the 2-7, failed to convert the split, and that was, in my opinion, the turning point of the match because they couldn't recover at that point.
Coming up next on the PBA Summer Tour, we'll be heading to Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl in Dublin, California for the $125,000 Kessler Open live Wednesday, June 18th, 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, right here on ESPN.
Be looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. Haven't seen Earl since I left the tour in '81, so it'd be a nice chance to chat with him and ask him how his golf game has improved. I know he's retired from the tour, probably bowls just a touch here and there, but I know his golf game is getting better and better, and I'm probably gonna cost me a few shots when we do get out there, as Mike Aulby and Steve Cook, the top seeds this week, are still getting a chance to loosen up a little bit and get ready, and I have a feeling that they're going to have to bowl pretty well here, Mike Durbin, to win this title.
I do too. And speaking of Earl Anthony being retired and everything, and what his golf game is like, what his bowling game would be like, I'll tell you what, I'd be willing to bet right now that his bowling game would have been good enough that I'd have loved to have him as my partner in this tournament right here.
Well, talking about a retirement, it gives us a moment to mention the fact that you, for all intents and purposes, have retired from touring full-time. You'll bowl the Firestone next year, but you're going to be working down in Fort Worth for Don Carter, the Don Carter chain, a brand new bowling center. The whole family will be down there, and that's got to be a great, I guess, career change for you, something you can look forward to.
Well, it is something to do. There is a life after the tour, life after bowling out here, and so this is an opportunity that I had, and we decided to take it.
Handshake between the two teams that have survived here, and there's a bit of a slap as, boy, Steve Cook is really pumped up and wired to go here. Last year was a very emotional final, as Steve Cook had been a couple of years without winning a title, and he wanted it desperately, and he struck in the 10th frame to clinch the title.
But this time they've chosen to do, as we were talking about, that they're going to let Albby finish and make Miller finish in the 10th frame.
First shot for the Cookie Monster, Steve Cook.
Down on a knee, solid 7 right out of the gate. Wow.
You heard Mike Aulby say, good shot, Steve, and you can't throw it much better than that coming out of the gate.
Looked pretty good to me, I'll tell you.
Oh, my. A solid 7-pin. Steve Cook, 6'7", 240 pounds. I think that might be a little on the lean side. 29 years of age.
I think that's about a 3-year-old stat there. Switches balls here at the 7-pin. And good results.
So Steve Cook scratches his head, wondering just what he's going to have to do to strike on lane 59. Meanwhile, Ernie Schlegel, who has performed admirably on lane 60, I think is pretty well zeroed in on that right-hand lane.
And what a contrast in styles. I mean, between Cook and Schlegel here. Cook with that power delivery, the high backswing, sending the ball out, and it comes in, leaves a solid 7. Schlegel pointing it up toward the pocket. It falls back at the pocket, and he's carrying. Bowling's a great game. It's for all people.
And for people of all sizes.
A little faster with his feet that time. Didn't make any difference. I'll tell you what, he is just drilling him on that lane.
Hugh Miller will now step up and start on lane 59. Hugh's grandmother, who lives in Montana, has a beautiful ranch in Montana. His #1 fan, and as I chatted with Hugh just before the telecast this evening, he spent a couple of weeks there just recently doing a little work on the ranch.
Nice area.
Punching a few cows, I guess. I don't know.
And they're off with that double. Good speed by Miller. Well, they're putting the pressure on the defending champs right away. I'll be asking for a re-rack. His first time over on lane 60.
This was really a total team effort to get here this week. I think when they were all said and done, it was only about 75 pins difference between Steve Cook and Mike Aulby as far as actual pinfall throughout the entire week. So it was a group effort.
And interesting, Mike Albby just broke one of the PBA rules. He left his rosin bag on the set tee or on the ball return, and you're not allowed to do that. And is the pin going to hit it? Leaves the 7. 2 7 pins. There's a table between the two players that our player services director Larry Lichtenstein provides, and it's a PBA rule for the players to put those rosin bags on that table. If Schlegel notices it, I think he'll make Albby do it.
You'll call him on it.
Yeah.
Schlegel, of course, the gamesman.
Definitely the gamesman.
Loves match play.
Cross lane at the 7 pin. Has it.
Steve Cook, a winner at the Firestone Tournament of Champions, the most prestigious tournament in bowling.
I wonder if Cook and Albby know what a handicap that they're operating under with me picking them here.
Mm-hmm. I imagine they'll rise to the occasion.
Trying for their first strike using a urethane bowling ball, as all the players are out here today.
Come on, all of them, all of them.
Albby yelling, all of them, all of them.
Steve Cook yelling a few things on his own. Boy, check this reaction out here in the title match. The big guy starts looking left and realizes all along it's a good shot. There's the hand slap, and he had a few words for the 7 pin on lane 59.
He says Marshall Holman's got nothing on me if he's making faces at those pins.
Marshall's the master at that, though.
I'll tell you what, if Schlegel throws this in the pocket, he's going to be a few lanes over, too, with fruit salad coming out.
On his knees sliding in the opposite direction. Boy, this has just been some beautiful bowling here tonight by the pros.
On a condition that's not that easy. And it's high. 3, 9, 10. And I think that was the pressure, Dan. I really do just think the situation there.
Well, that is not an easy split to convert, Mike. How do you shoot that?
It'll be interesting to see if he shoots it off of his strike target. It's one of my tips for next week. I recommend you shoot it off the strike target. He is going to shoot it from the left, from the extreme left. The reason it's tougher to make here is there's more deflection. The ball can deflect off that 3 pin. You make the 3-10 and miss the 9. He's throwing a backup ball at him. And only gets one of them. Boy, that was a poor effort, I think, and not a smart effort at that split.
An unusual approach to try and convert the split. And obviously it did not work out, as Cook and Albby, now with 39 through 2 frames, a strike up in the 3rd, lead by 6, and they grab that lead sitting on the bench.
Right, boy, that's a dangerous situation for 2 dynamite players like that.
And they're talking it over right now as Hugh Miller throws his shot. And a beauty on the left-hand lane. That was a strike all the way down the lane on lane 59. A very tight match indeed. And we'll be back with the rest of this title match right after this message.
You know, a big wheeler dealer like me has to keep up on sports. And what's a better deal than picking up a copy of Sports Illustrated? You see...
Sir, I got a better deal.
Right, kid. You see, Sports Illustrated gives me the feeling
Sports Illustrated gave me this Football Follies video cassette. 44 minutes of football's funniest moments. And it's free with my paid subscription.
Free? Come on.
I also got 1/2 off your newsstand price. 27 action-packed weeks for 3 installments of just $9.79 each. Plus, I get their famous swimsuit issue and this NFL schedule. Free. Just call this toll-free number. You can even use your credit card.
Okay, let's get this straight. They get over 50% off the special issues, the schedule, and the free NFL tape. Now, see, kid? That's a great deal.
Gee, sir, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, Sports Illustrated? I want to renegotiate.
Sports Illustrated. Get the feeling.
Call now. 1-800-221-5900.
In my line of work, your insurance isn't on a piece of paper. It's up here, and it's in your equipment. With all the technology that's built into today's cars, I just don't trust mine to anything but AC filters. An AC oil filter can help protect your gasoline engine for up to 15,000 miles. An AC air filter, up to 30,000 miles. Never wait for trouble. Protect your car with AC filters.
Now get rebates on AC filters. Call 1-800-AC-DELCO for a participating dealer.
On ESPN, beginning tomorrow, first and second round coverage of the 1986 U.S. Open Golf Championship from the Shinnecock Hills Country Club in Southampton, New York. Begins, of course, tomorrow, noon Eastern Daylight Time. Seve Ballesteros is my pick, and I think maybe Tom Watson might be involved. Mike, how about you?
There was a nice piece in the paper today about Bernard Longer.
Ooh. What about Greg Norman?
Well, Greg Norman, the leading money winner this year, has just been beating everybody, so...
He's a good choice, any of those guys.
There's just so many guys out there as there are out here anymore that can win at any given time.
Great coverage live on ESPN. Let's get back to bowling, though. Fourth frame shot, looking for a double.
Watch it, Aulby. If he strikes, he'll smack those hands. And he didn't. Cook was up. And he's saying something distracted him. I don't know whether it's the cameraman or what it is, but he's telling Harry Golden, whatever it was. It could have been a voice from the back, something, I don't know. But something definitely, Albby never says a word, usually.
I think that's one of the keys to his success. He just goes out and bowls.
He's the coolest under pressure. And he's been that way since he first won the PBA National right here at the Showboat Lanes when he was 19 years old.
Remember who he beat?
Yes, he beat Earl Anthony to win that at 19.
Oh, my. I'll never forget that because that was one of the first tournaments I worked as the broadcast director for the PBA. And Mike was, what, 19, 20 then?
Yeah, I can remember I had my son out for that tournament, and we were watching Mike in qualifying, and my son asked me, he says, well, what do you think of this kid? And I said, well, he doesn't look bad, you know, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, when you beat Earl Anthony for a national title, you are doing something right. Steve Cook, he in the fifth.
Wow, what a meat grinder that was.
What's really intimidating is if during qualifying, if you happen to be on lane 58, when Cook throws a strike like that on 59 and he runs it out over there, you don't want to get in his way. I'll tell you.
That's like getting hit by Dick Butkus. They'd flatten you for life. At 6'7". Very agile athlete, though. The thing that's so amazing about Steve is his agility.
That happens with so many big men.
Probably could have played tight end for somebody.
To take the lead, Schlegel. And the third 4-9 of the day that we have seen. The ball was falling back all the way at the pocket and still left the 4-9. Ernie, who is a great split converter, I'm sure is going to give a better effort at this 4-9 than he did at the 3-9-10. Just a bit tight. Watch the 2-pin. Third from the left goes around the 4, hits the 7. The ball chops the 5 off the 9. And that's how you leave the 4-9 split. Ernie has to go all out for this. They're down 6 pins already if he makes it.
Well, he's one of the most accurate players on the tour. If anybody can make it, Ernie Schlegel can.
And same thing happened to all three players. Sajek, Papis, or was it Dickinson? I think it was Dickinson, and Schlegel. Didn't get over enough to hit that 4-pin thin enough to slide it into the 9.
Well, his partner will have to step up now and try and solidify things and strike in the 6th. Hugh Miller with strikes in the 2nd and the 4th thus far in this game.
And interesting, Ernie was going along so well, throwing so many strikes, so many balls in the pocket on lane 60, and suddenly 2 splits in a row. Good speed. Good result. Well, it's not his fault. Everyone's been the same for him.
What are partners for? You used to cheer yours on, didn't you?
Oh, hey, I'd always pick a good horse, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you got to cheer them on, especially when they're throwing strikes. You know, Cook and Albby leading by 18, could make it 28 should Mike Aulby strike for the first time. And boy, did he strike last year. Set a career earnings record better than 200,000, won 6 titles. PBA Player of the Year and also a former Rookie of the Year. This kid's done it all.
And he had to do well in his last tournament to get over that 200,000 mark. For the double, knocks the 7-pin out of there. He knew it. And there are the Canepa sisters, Tammy and Candy. Tammy Aulby on the left, Candy Cook on the right.
And Mike Aulby and Steve Cook trying to keep this title in the family one more time. They won last year and would love to just keep it right in the Aulby and Cook family.
Year after year. Used to say that it was tough to beat Holman and Roth here. They were the dynamite team, but now maybe Cook and Aulby, there's a changing of the guard here.
Steve Cook will explode if he strikes on this one.
For 3. Cook reminds me of Billy Whalou. Years ago, Whalou used to run out those strikes like that, you know, and Cook gets him moving when he...
Billy Whalou. My favorite 2 sayings were, you don't go hunting bear with a switch, and he better catch lightning in a bottle if he expects to win this one. Don't you remember that?
Yeah. Whalou was great.
Great color commentator. Great bowler, for that matter. Cook will try and convert the 7.
Changes balls to the plastic ball. And no problem.
Well, the top seeds with a very steady performance thus far. They're not giving much away. They've had 1 double in the 5th and the 6th. They lead now by 27. But Ernie Schlegel, if he doubles here, could make things interesting.
He has to double here, Dan. He just has to. He's risen to every occasion, though. He rose to the occasion against Papis and Dickinson. He did it in the last match against Salvey and Gant. And he must do it right now in the 7th frame against Cook and Aulby. Looks good. Boy, that looked good. And he says something to it.
Hands on hips that time as he reacted to the strike.
Boy,
in the 7th frame.
A frozen rope. That ball didn't hook 1 inch. I'll tell you, that's straighter than I could throw it.
And that's pretty straight.
Yeah, right. And there he is.
Always animated, always interesting, and always in the hunt at the Showboat. He always bowls well. He finished 6th in the Showboat Invitational here this winter.
Amazing. He always bowls well in the center. To cut it to 7 pins. And, boy, is that kid bowling well. I'll tell you, this match isn't over.
Hugh Miller doesn't run out many strikes. He is normally a pretty calm, cool, and collected guy, but he wanted that one desperately, and now Cook and Albby lead by only 7.
And here's the shot of Miller. Just like every other one he's had this game. You suppose that he's saying, hey, you guys put me in the position as he runs this one out, that you don't think I can strike out or strike when I need to. I'm going to show you I can.
Well, if Schlegel gets one in the 9th, that'll be very interesting. I'll be looking for a double on his own.
Right. Trying to get that lead strike for his brother-in-law to double up. Oh, and through the heart. Knocks out the 10-pin, leaves only the 6. Boy, that ball just snapped right at the last second.
Well, he liked it when he let it go. No question about that.
He thought it was going to be flush. Right about here, that ball starts turning right. And he's fortunate that he got away with just 9 on this shot. Knocked out that 7 and the 10. Relatively easy 6-pin. Suddenly, the complexion of this match has turned around.
Well, a possible 231 for Miller and Schlegel should they take this one off the sheet. Meanwhile, 227 would be the best that Cook and Albby could come up with if they threw 4 consecutive strikes.
And that's the first time that Cook and Albby have been out of the 1-2 pocket. Every other shot, they left a 7-pin. They went high there. Could be they were feeling a little of the pressure that Miller and Schlegel applied.
Well, this match has gone back and forth ever since the opening frame.
6 pins difference. Cook and Albby still in the lead. 9th frame action. Foundation. He's got it. They're still alive. Cook is finished. It's up to his brother-in-law now.
Well, that's the best you can do. A flush hit in the 9th frame to set up the 10th for Albby.
And watch. This is all 10 pins in the pit. Watch the ball. See how it just keeps rolling? Almost left.
That one may never come back. That's probably at the back of the building somewhere as Steve Cook calls it back home and strikes. I'd like to have to feed that guy every night. Huh? If you were late with dinner, you'd be in trouble, wouldn't you?
He's mild-mannered off the lane.
What a great guy. Well, Schlegel is just going to have to take care of business here in the 9th.
To take the lead. And if they go all the way, they can shut out Cook and Albby. Oh, boy, was that a great shot. And he points that finger at Miller and says, come on, let's get him.
Oh, my goodness. Ernie Schlegel would take you out back and wrestle you for the title if he had to.
Oh, I love it, I'll tell you. Just dead flush. He turned around to Miller and just pointed and says, come on, it's your turn now. That was to take the lead. They're up by 4. And see if the strategy from Cook and Albby paid off. This is what they wanted, for Miller to have to strike. Very little time. And a 6-8. I don't believe it.
Ernie Schlegel pounded his chair, jumped straight up in the air, and Hugh Miller is beside himself right now.
We've seen 3 4-9s by right-handers and now a 6-8 by left-hander. The lead is still 2 pins by Schlegel and Miller if he converts this split. He is figuring out what happens if I don't make it. He's trying to add up that score now, but he has to go for this. There is no doubt. He has to go for this split.
There are some sweaty palms here at the Showboat Bowling Center, including yours and mine.
And Ernie sneaks over. He wants a closer look. He wants to see if his partner has a chance to make it. He's going all out for it.
Oh, my, how much closer could you get? Miller and Schlegel get a fine round of applause, but they'll have to step down with a 195 game. And what's that set up in the 10th frame for Cook and Aulby?
Aulby needs a mark. If Aulby would get 9 out, I think we wind up with a tie.
You know, what are partners for? And look at the eyes there of Ernie Schlegel. Ew, just didn't quite get it done. And Ernie is going to remember that shot for many years to come.
He needs a mark. If he would open in the 10th frame or get 9 out, we would have a tie. Less than 9, they could lose. So it's not over. But this is the man I'd want throwing the strike for me right now.
He likes it. He likes it. Oh.
He has to make it, Denny. He has to make it.
And Steve Cook, did you see Cook jump up on the approach that time and try and root that ball home?
Boy, he did the intelligent, smart thing. He gave that ball room. The last time he crowded that head pin, he wasn't about to make that same mistake again.
Well, it's never easy shooting the 10 or the 7, but if he makes it.
And it's interesting, he's got that rosin bag on the ball return. I'm surprised Schlegel doesn't make him stop and put it back on the table.
With a spare, Aulby and Cook repeat.
Hard and straight. He's got it.
Aulby and Cook react to the victory. Steve Cook puts up the big #1 sign, and for the 2nd year in a row, Cook and Albby will keep it in the family and win the Showboat Doubles Classic.
And look at Schlegel hug Miller. Miller's just beside himself. He threw 4 perfect strikes in the 6-8 in the 10th frame. Cook and Albby overcame my jinx.
And the final score, a 10-pin victory as they shake the hands of the guys who finished second. Albby and Cook win 205 to 195.
You know, I'm single, and a lot of people assume that means I can't cook. And it's just not true. A lot of times I'll invite a woman over to my house, make her dinner, and they don't seem to like oatmeal, and they'll leave. But I haven't had that trouble since I discovered pan pizza. I'll pick one up, take it home. Women love it. I can fill 10, 15 tables a night at my place now. Next week I'm putting in video games. You think that's too much?
Father's Day. It's coming. And the savings are here now inside True Value Hardware Store's new Father's Day circular. This 20-foot retractable reel light from Carol Cable is just $11.99. And a 2101-piece nut and bolt center is only $8.99. Give this Master Mechanic 5-piece screwdriver set for just $3.99. Or Master Mechanic tape measures in 3 sizes, just $13.88 for the set at participating True Value Hardware Stores and home centers. Tell them Pat Summerall sent you.
Anyone who thinks jazz is cool ought to see my group when we're really hot.
Give your body the best. Safeguard, the most deodorant soap lather you can get to clean odor away with the most deodorant soap protection you can get to help keep odor away.
Hey, that's important, because nobody wants to end their evening on a sour note.
Give your body the best with Safeguard.
When people work, chances are they're wearing Dickies. It's the best-selling work set in America. And if you need coveralls, overalls, work gloves, socks, or shirts, footwear, headgear, underwear, or outerwear, they all have Dickies horseshoe label. Dickies are America's favorite work clothes. But who says you have to work in them? Dickies, made with Celanese Fortrell polyester.
match. And standing next to me, the family affair, the winners of the $130,000 Showboat PBA Doubles Classic, Steve Cook and Mike Aulby. Now, I know this is never going to get boring coming back and winning this tournament, and hopefully you'll get a chance to do it next year. The guy standing just to my left, Jack Cook, the manager of the Showboat Bowling Center, comes in with a pair of look-alike trophies and a presentation for our champions here this evening.
Mike, on behalf, and Steve, on behalf of Mr. Kelly and the Showboat Hotel, I'd like to congratulate you for a fine tournament, and here's a check for $25,000.
$25,000. That means $12,500 each, and I noticed that the two ladies ended up with the checks, Candy and Tammy. Kind of nice to watch these guys win, isn't it?
Yes, but we wanted quarters here. not dollars, we wanted quarters.
Yeah, you can't put those checks in the slot machines. And to my left, of course, Mike Durbin going to step in. Mike, do you have any questions for our champions here at the Showboat?
Well, I just want to congratulate them. It was a tremendous game, a tremendous finish. You guys didn't know you were operating under a handicap. I picked you, and you still won. Just one quick question, Mike. What were your thoughts when you know you needed that mark in the 10th frame?
Well, I would have much rather had a strike, obviously, and especially when I leave the 7-pin. I really don't like to shoot those. And you know, I missed a couple back in 1981 in Paris to lose the title, and I knew for once now the monkey's off my back. I got one to win a title, so but it's great to defend here in Las Vegas, and I think we're a team to be reckoned with for a long time.
I was saying that. It used to be Holman and Roth that we looked out for. Now it's Cook and Aulby. Congratulations. You guys were great.
I have a question for Steve Cook. Steve, just what were you whispering at those 7-pins on lane 59, or should you not say?
I probably shouldn't say. But I just try to throw them and see if they fall over, and if they don't, I get angry, so who knows.
Did you and Mike feel any more pressure coming into the tournament this year as the defending champions?
I didn't. You know, I like coming back to Showboat, you know, every year. It's a fun stop, and that's what I look forward to, and I really didn't have any pressure at all coming in being defending champions.
Well, they've defended twice. Maybe they'll make it 3 in a row next year. Thanks for stopping by, watching the action at the Showboat this evening. The champions here, Steve Cook and Mike Aulby. Tonight's telecast has been brought to you by Dickies. They're America's favorite work clothes, but who says you have to work in them? The more you've got to do, the more you need True Value Hardware stores. We've got what it takes. By Safeguard, the combination of unbeatable deodorant soap protection and a rich, thick leather. Don't forget, coming up next week, we'll be live in Dublin, California at Earl Anthony's Bowl for the $125,000 Kessler Open next Wednesday night live on ESPN.
Nobody has lower fares than United to more cities across this land. North to south, east to west, only United has low fares to all 50 states.
You're not just flying, you're flying with